My name is Annika Berndt, and on behalf of GreenUp, I'm very pleased to be welcoming Max Studenikov from the CC Forum today for discussion. GreenUp is an organization based in Switzerland that promotes fostering collaboration amongst different practitioners across industries to bring together climate change solutions. Welcome, Max. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a privilege, and I'm deeply grateful for your kind invitation. Absolutely. You might be pleased to know that our previous edition of CC Forum, stands, by the way, for Climate Change Investment Forum, took place in Zurich 4 months ago at the Dolder Grand. So with much, hopefully, not only panache, but meaning. And it was chaired by CNN's legend, Richard Quest. By the way, we're doing the same thing in London in 2 months' time from now.
Could you kindly introduce CC Forum a little bit more and give us more of an idea of what the mission or what your mission is?
Right. Well, interestingly enough, we're now in the heart of Davos. The whole concept of the forum was born over a cup of coffee with one of the incumbent prime ministers now. I just don't want to mention the name because it's otherwise we'll just go too much into politics. We're apolitical, non-political forum. We're an investment forum. But fair enough, the whole idea of the whole concept of the forum was born over this conversation about 10 years ago. Because the back then was one of the key people in the British government, by the way. He now is head of state of another large English-speaking country, but I'm still leaving you in the dark. Not that many to choose from. He sort of came up with an idea of, perhaps, Max, if you were to set up a conference that would work more like a club of impact investors. And if I might remind you, back then, about 10 years ago, it was a very blurry term. People didn't know much about impact investing. It's now so much overused. It's now gone on to another extreme. It's so hacked, it's so threadbare, it's lost almost every meaning. But back then it was this. And basically walked away with that, having floated this idea. And because yours truly had been a sought-after speaker at climate change and investment conferences worldwide, it really clearly fell on a fertile soil. He planted the seed, and the following year we came up with the first edition of CC Forum in London, central part of London, in 2018. And it was conceived from day one as a 4-day event, which consists not only of a plenary session, that goes without saying, but also a high-level networking event program, including black tie investors gala dinner and awards-giving ceremony, various sorts of receptions, partner events. So it's a platform where people come together from all over the world. Many of them are flying thousands of miles, for the better or for the worse, to really brainstorm, crack down on the issues related to investing in sustainability. And simply put, the mission of the forum is mobilizing private wealth for good causes. And when I say sustainability, it has a whole, we have a whole plethora of areas that are connected, intertwined with each other. It's not just climate change action in Greta Thunberg's style, away with oil. Obviously, that goes without saying. But whilst we've left the pontificating until they're blue in the faces to the politicians at the likes of COPs, and partly even here, for all my chapeau off to Davos, as much of it as a politicking, unfortunately. We've been focusing solely and purely on identifying investment-based solutions. And we're very fortunate because over the last 8 years, we've forged a rather big pool of international investors, private and institutional ones, on the one hand, and a massive choice of projects at various stages of their development, from seed or pre-seed stage to LSE or NASDAQ listed. And we connect them. We would provide them with a platform where they can be heard, seen, and collaborate. Because I've personally believed in private wealth so much more than and in political sweeping statements, right? That's what we're doing. Work on the ground.
Thank you for this very insightful overview. Is there any specific sector of impact investing that you look at, or sustainable development?
We have taken this holistic approach towards sustainability. Whatever really does not have to do with drug trafficking or oil and gas, for that matter, will stay that way from that firmly. Is absolutely is up our alley. And having said that, it's climate change action, it's government strategies, it's waste management, it's healthcare, longevity, education, finance, fintech, AI, women empowerment, very important as well, because the space is so much lopsided. I'm happy to dwell on this later on as well. So it's because we perfectly believe, I've been a believer in the fact that these areas are closely interconnected. You can't just address one particular area without being associated with the others. It's all part of the same entity.
Definitely, you mentioned a very good point of interconnectedness. Sometimes makes it a little bit difficult to kind of separate or
differentiate.
Absolutely. And on the side of the investors, is there anyone in particular that you mentioned that you work with private wealth mainly,
and private health too,
and private health as well.
It's very important. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, the vast majority of our investors community are private investors, family offices, general partners, limited partners, VC capital firms, angels. Of course, we do have sovereign funds and funds of funds, but it's kind of tertiary and secondary importance. And there is a reason for that, because it's extremely important. That's been the mission and ethos of the CC Forum, to make sure smaller projects are heard and seen and given visibility and exposure, just as much as those being ranked out, listed on LSE. Because normally, when it comes to institutional investing, they only invest in large, which is already very much an obvious. But the idea is really to help grow and be heard and seen and scale up eventually to a huge variety of projects that are not well known yet. And it's normally the private investors that are taking in that rather than the institutional ones, if that makes sense.
Yes, absolutely. You mentioned that this is going to be your 13th conference.
Yeah, I can't believe it. We're no longer toddlers, yeah.
Yeah, congratulations. So you must have seen a lot of changes in kind of what topics are mentioned in sustainable development compared to 10 years ago. Is that the case?
Absolutely, yes. I mean, it's a very good question. Thank you for it, Anika, because not only do we tend to vary the content of our editions depending on what's the geographical locale that we take the forum to, because we've done 12 editions across London, Paris, Monaco, Zurich, Dubai and Bahrain, in certain cases 2 or 3 times, like in London, twice in Monaco, twice in Paris. And every time we go, we try to differentiate the program. For example, if it's in Monaco, obviously we cover a whole range of subjects, but say 2 or 3 that are really of paramount importance are maritime industry and automotive industry, for obvious reasons. If it's Dubai, it's real estate and construction and potable water. If it's London, it's finance and fintech, first and foremost. If it's Paris, it's luxury and fashion. And we had an angle there whereby we had a whopping 50 to 50% ratio of female and male speakers on stage. This could only be achieved in Paris because we had an angle. And then we came further to Zurich. It was still lopsided, 70% male, 30% female. So absolutely, but that's just kind of the horizontal spread. So what I'm saying is that we pick 2 or 3 paramount topics and make them at the top of the agendas, depending on where we go. But similarly, vertically, we want to say time-wise as well, the content that was up to date, that was the talk of the town, say 8 years ago, is very much different from what it was 3 or 4, and it's certainly very different from what it is now. Like for example, in terms of the impact investing, No one was talking about impact investing 8 or 9 years ago when we were just starting out. Moreover, there were lots of skepticism as to whether climate change is happening at all and whether it's going to be economically sustainable. Investing in there, why should I invest in it? Lots of raised eyebrows. And it's extremely gratifying that those people who were quite skeptical and cautious back then, they're nudging yours truly now. International teams in Max is the really 1 trillion green or blue opportunity that we might potentially invest. And we're talking about people who are literally sitting on millions and billions without knowing what to do with them. So the mission of the forum, as I'm saying, is guiding them, is chaperoning them, is educating, if you want, as to how they can put their wealth to good use. Mm-hmm. So if that answers your question.
Yes, definitely. From your experience, how would you say working with private capital is different than maybe with other institutions or kind of larger organizations? And how do you kind of help them invest their money as well and find solutions that fit to their kind of own priorities?
Absolutely. Well, like I'm saying, the forum is the platform, it's the catalyst. Mm-hmm. Of course, sooner or later, a company A or X, might meet an investor or a group of investors Y sooner or later, probably might never do it, and they would just be stranded in different parts of the ocean, speaking metaphorically, so to speak. So, but because it's fair to assume that by now, CC Forum has garnered the reputation of one of the most prominent gatherings of impact private wealth. We are known for it, and people expect to find to come across a counterpart. If you're a scale-up, we're particularly good for scale-ups, not so much for the startups. Of course, we're welcoming startups as well. Try their potluck, but unfortunately, and that's the reality, family offices, for example, they don't tend to invest in startups. They do invest in projects that have what I call crossed over the Death Valley, stage A, B, and onwards, and they're interested. And they like to co-invest as well. They don't want to be guinea pigs. No, okay. And it breaks my heart because I can see there is a whole string of projects, absolutely extraordinary, groundbreaking, revolutionary, but because they don't have the track record, and nothing to refer to in their past, they're given a wide berth by the family offices. So the idea is really just, yes, we're welcoming on an equal footing the startups, but we're particularly important, particularly appropriate for the scale-ups. For example, companies who have like a little factory and they want to do 10 more globally. We're ideal for it because they have already the track record, something to show off, to showcase to the investors, right? So it's fairly easy. But how? They find themselves on the premises of the forum. And that's why the particular importance given to the high-level networking. It's not a small event, like in terms of you don't get together for like 2 hours or an hour. Like there are hundreds and thousands of events in Davos, which are great in their own way, but they're kind of they're too what's the word I'm looking for? Transient, if I may. This is just metaphorically. What we do, we get together for 3 or 4 days of intense brainstorming and also high-level networking, because it's only through one's being in the room for a longish period of time that the relationships forge, and some of them they long outlast this or that edition of the forum. I know for a fact there are partnerships formed, friendships struck, and lots of things in the making. And that's what we do, because we're a platform, we're the catalyst.
That sounds really impactful and exciting as well. Great mission. Do you have an example of a partnership or a project that kind of came out of the forum?
The thing is that, of course, and these are not just one-off, but there are dozens. Not all of them I can disclose, because in some cases it's all related by NDA agreement. And particularly the investors, they are quite, as you very well know, because we're in the same space, they're quite fussy about, their names being made public, whatever. With the projects themselves, that's easier. They can sort of, but I can just give you a few examples. For example, we now know what Carbfix is. It's a quite famous startup, which is now massive scale up. That's been focusing on extracting CO2 from within the air and storing them like nuggets of black gold, and underground. So we were used as a jump board for one of those, for example. Multiple projects without even mentioning their names. For example, converting the food waste into an alternative to diesel fuel. How does that sound? And there is a factory now, thanks to City Forum in 2021. That was in Monte Carlo. So we gave sort of the first impetus, and we got them heard and seen, and just the investors really pounced on them. Or growing rice in the desert. How about that?
Wow. Yeah.
And it's just, we're not just talking 22nd century. It's happening now. Extracting energy from photovoltaic particles. That's something you haven't even probably heard of. And I only heard it because we were hosting. So a whole plethora of various sorts of projects across all sections of sustainability. We either get them heard and seen, and hopefully get them funded by the investors, or in those cases, we help raise an awareness among the investors because of what they had done already. Again, if they have a track record, if they have something to showcase to the investors, it's so much easier to get positive traction in terms of funding for them.
So in essence, you're kind of a matchmaker, matching kind of the companies with investors.
It's one of the facets of ours. This is the most practical. Yeah. Yes, okay, but don't forget that CT Forum has been positioning itself and successfully so as a think tank as well. If you just kind of allow me to share a few words about the program of the upcoming 13th edition in London in exactly 2 months from now. Don't remind me, it's so close by. 19th to 21st of March. Is not only that, because that's normally done by lots of mixers, bigger, smaller. Zurich is perfect for it, by the way. But that's the whole thing. Is whilst continuing carrying on with this practical mission, connecting the most discerning, savviest of the impact investors to the impactful startups and scale-ups. We are a think tank as well, and by that, we constantly host on stage senior dignitaries, sometimes heads of state, sometimes ministers, royalty, celebrities, media, because it's just as important to utilize the platform that we've created for the people sometimes with unconventional views, which are not exactly, they don't dovetail with the overall paradigm. Fair enough, that's okay. Interestingly, in London, we'll be hosting a 2-part, 1-hour-long presidential-style debate, our signature genre, actually, because obviously we'll be hosting many friendly panel discussions and inspiring keynotes and fireside chats. That goes without saying. But the signature style of the conference at the CT Forum is standing across the bars, 3x3 opponents, 1 hour long, including Q&A with the answers with the audience. And every time there's something extremely provocative. For example, in Paris, we did a debate on carbon credits. Very controversial topic, isn't it? Carbon credits, a viable solution for the planet or an indulgence to pollute? That was almost extremely hot, or in Zurich 4 months ago, AI, bright future of humanity or its self-inflicted destruction. It almost came to fist fighting there, I swear to God. So now in London, we'll be doing this in 2 parts on a different topic, which is equally quite hot, even though we all understandably is now a little bit obfuscated by geopolitics, which all of a sudden, unfortunately, has taken to the front and is slightly eclipsing, which I think is by far more important, climate change action. So that will be along the lines of whether or not we should invest in net zero. Big topic, certainly in the UK, but also globally as well. Because you will remember the enthusiasm 3 or 4 years ago. Oh, net zero. But now, okay, as we look at that, it's not that easy. It's not that simple. It's not that straightforward. We have to factor in what it costs, tax-wise. It's capital to people to deal with. For businesses, many implications. It's not that straightforward. It's still there. That's why we've titled this two-part debate. One is reserved for the politicians. It's called households versus the planet, or should we invest in net zero, or even livelihoods versus the planet, should we invest in net zero? That's for the politicians, although we stay away from politics. On this occasion, we do include this purely political debate. And for the tycoons, the similar titled discussion or debate, profit versus planet, should we invest in net zero? So that would be the backbone of the whole of agenda of CC Forum London. Standing, it's a lot of hot discussions there. That's what we do.
How does this is really interesting. How does this complement or work together with the investment arm of it? Or do both of these? So the debate takes place at the conference.
Yeah, on main stage.
And therefore, and kind of following the discussion, there's going to be more investor kind of events, but also companies presenting their agendas.
One does not go along without the other. It's part of the same whole. The idea of these debates is just really to give food for thought, mental pabulum, for both investing and those being invested in, because they should know all the implications. A family office who is ready to deploy, I don't know, 100 mil or 50 billion sometimes, they ought to know what they're letting themselves in for, what the trends are, what the implications are. Is it all black and white, or the right nuances, and across all the interests. So we'll really just, provide this breakdown of ideas and thoughts, which are not as simplistic. Okay, we're all out for net zero. But there are certain things that they should know. That's what we do. And then it's up to them to decide what.
A lot of kind of the collaborations that are being made here are really built on trust, building on really connecting to each other on a human level. And I think this is also a big theme in this year for the Climate Hub.
Absolutely.
Do you have like a personal recommendation? You've been building relationships with so many people over the last decades. Do you have any personal kind of suggestion or tip for how to really build this kind of trust with people?
Just be sincere. Be what you are. Be authentic. Be what you are, and be passionate about what you're doing. If you have a good cause or good goal, whatever wording you might choose, really, that's just about what is enough, really. You're bound to meet kindred spirits. You're bound to meet people who share your ideas and your enthusiasm. And sooner or later, it will, it's like a spark that brings, great minds together. I'm seeing this all around. That's what Davos is really good at. It will still retain this extraordinary capacity that no other, no other event worldwide has. Okay, it's a great ground catalyst, if you want, where ideas are born and partnerships are forged. Really, that's what it is.
I really like your wording of and use of authenticity. I think we definitely need more of that, especially at such large conferences as these.
Absolutely. It's very easy to succumb to the idea of wearing masks, whatever. I mean, we're all wearing masks. It's theatre, isn't it? But I think it's very, very important to be sincere about what you're doing. So I'm just reiterating my previous thought, and then things will be all right.
Great. Thank you so much. This has been a really interesting conversation. And I hope that you manage to build some new partnerships here at the Climate Hub, but also beyond. Thank you so much on behalf of Green Up. And I wish you all the best. Thank you so much for your time.